Good morning and welcome to the March 7th, 2018 Walton County Technical Review Committee meeting. Pleased to see so many people in the audience and attendance this morning for this important meeting. First item on our agenda this morning is the review and approval of the last meeting minutes. Do we have any corrections to those minutes? Okay. With that change, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Our minutes are approved. That brings us, I don't think we have any announcements this morning. So we'll move right into project review. The first item on our agenda this morning is the Alderberry project. Requested approved by development orders, been reviewed by Bob Barani. And I'll ask you to introduce this one, Bob.
Mr. Chair, this is a minor development order application submitted by JP Engineering LLC on behalf of Warren Investments LLC, requesting approval to develop 10 single-family lots on 5.29 acres as Phase 1, with a conceptual approval of Phase 2, 12.53 plus or minus acres. The project is located from the intersection of East Hewitt Road and Atterbury Road, approximately 0.25 miles east on Atterbury Road, and the parcel is located on the north side of the road. And it's a total of 17.84 acres, and the future land use is conservation residential, 2 development units an acre, and 1 development units to 2.5 acres. This project was continued a couple times, and it's now ready to move forward for your review.
Thank you, Bob. The applicant here?
Yes, sir. Matthew Parker with JP Engineering.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you have any comments or further description?
No, sir.
This is a minor development. We'll take the opportunity to open a public hearing on this, as this board's action will be final agency action on this particular item. Is there any member of the public that wishes to comment on this proposed project? Yes, ma'am. Could you come to the podium, please?
Yes, Christy Coldaway, and I live on East Hewitt Road. And I believe that on the previous meetings on this, that both groups agreed that they would have in writing that Fish and Wildlife would be required, they would be required to obtain and abide by the Eagle Watch permits, and that you would ask that that be in the approval.
Mr. Chair, there was no actions made at the last meeting because the applicant had some issues to straighten out. I think the applicant's ready to submit that, and if the applicant doesn't have any objections to that, we could add that to the conditions of approval.
To the condition, we have to work with Fish and Wildlife anytime that an eagle is located in our environmental assessment. We located the eagle's nest. This first phase that we're requesting approval for is outside of the impact area for that. So it's not a problem at all. It's something that we have to do, work with Fish and Wildlife and abide by the regulations to protect the bald eagle there. The one thing that I do want to distinct, one of the reasons that we phased this project was because of the eagle, and that we could make sure that we were doing things according to the Fish and Wildlife regulations. And so I want to be clear that the phase 1 is outside of those limits according to our environmental. We'd like to move forward with that, and Fish and Wildlife obviously will be addressed on phase 2 inside the eagle impact area.
Okay, but this is a conceptual for that, so couldn't we just put it in now that so it wouldn't?
I think that would be a reasonable request. That particular zone over the years has been reduced from 1,000 feet, I think, from the nest to 500 feet. Is this phase one, just for confirmation here with the public, phase one is outside of that 500 feet?
Yes, sir.
But you have no objection to including that request?
That's no problem.
As appropriate?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I'll take care of it.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Do we have any other public comments? Yes, ma'am.
Coy Bowman, B-O-W-M-A-N. 22S20 is where Jesse J. Giles lived. He's listed in the Spanish land grants, which are a fraud. If you look at the very first deed on the website, this is not a deed. This is the last page of a lease agreement. It's almost illegible, but you can see on here it says leasee shall do a whole bunch of stuff. So this land doesn't have a legitimate title. You cannot build on it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. You're welcome to submit those in writing. Do we have any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and we'll entertain a motion on this project. Bob, you have a recommended motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I make a motion to conditionally approve this project, and I also ask to add as part of the condition of approval to require the eagle protection zone.
Thank you, Bob. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Motion.
Motion by Ben,
Second.
second by Bill. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item receives a recommendation for approval and will move to development order subject to the conditions of the motion.
Thank you.
This will move us to item number 2, the Commerce Park PUD site plan amendment, request to approve by final order. This is a major development. It's been reviewed by Tim Brown, and I think Bob is representing Tim today.
Mr. Chair, I reviewed this project. This is a major development order application submitted by Emerald Coast Incorporated on behalf of Carly Properties LLC, requesting approval of 102,545 square feet of commercial and 43 condominiums on plus or minus 14.44 acres with a future land use of village mixed use. And as the subject project name is, this is a PUD site amendment. There are some responses. There's nothing of major significance that would impact moving this forward, so I will turn it over to Dean Burgess, the agent.
Thank you, Bob.
Good evening, or good morning. Dean Burgess with Emerald Coast Associates. I've had some opportunity to go through the comments. If you could bear with me while I look through them, just to see if I have any questions. The only question I would have is there's a fair amount of floodplain comments. You may recall that this was a approved PUD back in 2006, and I would just request that we have some discussion on whether the previously approved PUD entitlements prevail, or whether we need to go ahead and demonstrate the current code requirements for compensatory storage and other floodplain requirements.
Other than those comments, do you see any issue with addressing the remaining items?
Yeah, the only question I have is on the applicability of the current floodplain requirements to this, understanding that it was an approved PUD back in 2006.
Mosquito control did make a comment that didn't make it here. Probably Monday it was sent. about access to that ditch on the northeast corner of the property. We've talked to you in the past about that. I
Right.
think it's blocked now to where we can't do anything. Are they going to take care of that side if it washes out? It's a large ditch. It is important to the county for drainage.
Now, up in that northeast corner, we've got a set of apartments that are going there, and our access drive crosses the ditch.
North of that, the access drive, that section would be hard for anyone to fix once this is done. If it washes out, if it, the state it's in now is just a grass ditch, but we can't really reach it from the other side. So it's just not, it is an issue to us.
Okay, so you're talking about north of where our driveway is for that portion of the project? Is it off-site or is it on our property that you're concerned
There's a
with?
good bit of area between your driveway and off-site, that area
Okay.
between there. is
So
hard.
between our driveway and the northern portion of our property?
Yes.
I'll take a look at that. What your concern is being able to access that ditch?
Not so much for mowing, but yes, for maintaining it if something happened to it, if they do.
Okay.
Um,
Let me take a look at that and see if we can work something out where there is some access to it. Otherwise, we will take responsibility for the access of it and maintenance of it.
Thank you.
Public Works also had a comment that I know I spoke to Bob about, but I don't see it in the staff report. We would like to see a cross connection for future cross connection right there on the west portion of the property. That's something you would look at. Right now, I know that it's vacant to the west, but if you go on, you've got the Ace Hardware and the Hardys, and at some point, we would like a full service road cross connection if possible.
Sure, we could look at that. I think it would help our development as well.
Okay.
Dean, I just had a quick question. The condominiums, what's the proposed height on those?
Excuse me?
The condominiums, the proposed height on the condominiums?
What is your question about them?
Can you hear me? Sorry. The proposed height on those?
Oh, the height on the
Yes, sir.
condominiums? I would have to go back to the plans and see, but obviously they're not going to exceed the 50-foot,
Right.
4-story limit that Walton County has.
Okay, just curious. Thank you.
The max height that's being proposed on the whole site is 49 feet.
Thank you.
This is a major development, so the public hearing will be held at Planning Commission should this item move forward. However, we are going to open the floor to any technical questions from members of the public. Do we have anyone wishing to make a comment?
Coy Bowman. 22 South 26 is mine. It's part of the railroad deed, so you can't do anything with it without my permission. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome to submit your comments in writing. And we'll add it to the public record. Do we have any other technical comments? Seeing none, we'll close that portion. My suggestion is we should meet on this particular project on the floodplain.
Okay.
Regulation applicability and the history of this particular PUD and I think we can resolve that fairly quickly. My suggestion is that being able to resolve that in your comments that you can address the other comments would not be such that this would hold this project up. My recommendation would be that we move it forward. Subject to satisfaction of those outstanding comments, and then it can be scheduled for Planning Commission once we resolve those items. Do we have a motion, a recommended motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to recommend the motion you just made, conditionally approve it on Public Works comments and mosquito control and meeting with the agent for the floodplain issues. And once those are resolved, schedule it for the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Bob. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item will move forward subject to satisfaction of those outstanding comments and the comments from the dais. That moves us to item number 3, the Greenway Station PUD, formerly known as the Midgrove Center PUD. This is a request to approve by final order. This is also a major development that will be subject to public hearings at Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners. It's reviewed by Tim Brown, but I think Bob is standing in for Tim while he's in Washington, D.C. Bob, could you introduce the project for us?
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is a major development order application submitted by Emerald Coast Associates Incorporated, requesting approval for a 38,488 square foot conceptual PUD consisting of 8,068 square feet of restaurant, 15,844 square feet of retail, 13,776 square feet of office, 10 condominium units, 800 square feet of trailhead building, and a 75-room lodge on 4.89 acres with a future land use of village mixed use and neighborhood infill. This item was continued from the February 7th, 2018 meeting. The applicant is here to speak on this project.
We've read through the comments and feel that they can be responded to promptly. And I didn't have any questions for the members of the TRC board.
Thank you, Dean. This is a major development, and as I mentioned, there will be public hearings at the next stages of review of this particular project. However, we will open the floor to any technical questions from any member of our public today. Yes, sir.
Fred Tricker, Tricker. I'd just like to know on a procedure matter, is your intent to do the PUD application hearing separate from the DO application hearing, or are you going to combine them?
No, sir, it will be one in the same hearing.
Okay, and you understand that our understanding of the code is that's not in compliance with the land development code procedures. So that requires a separate hearing for the PUD. That's a legislative hearing as opposed to a DO application, which is a quasi-judicial that can't be heard before the PUD has been approved, according to the land development code.
We'll review that with the attorney. Your objections duly noted. At the present time, those hearings are going to be combined.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other comments? Ms. Ward?
Yes, I believe the rules state that you can't have a lodging of more than 15 rooms. So who thinks that they're going to put a 75-room lodge on this little tiny piece of property? And then the amount of water that it would require and the amount of sewage that it would require is just going to destroy the entire neighborhood, the traffic it will create. I mean, I don't even know who thought that they could even bring this issue up, but it's way outside the scope of what's allowed on the scenic corridor. So you can't do this either. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. This application is consistent with present regulations for the 30A scenic corridor and the land development code.
Melissa Ward with Dunlap and Shipman, and representation of some associations that the firm represents in the neighborhood. In particular, some of the concerns that we're just going to mention here, and we'll of course bring up later. I am looking for the most recent submittals, and I've already contacted the plan department for those. There are concerns that the ordinance that reduced the number of units in a limited lodging to 50 is inconsistent with this application. And also there are some concerns about the parking calculation, which I believe they've already changed, but I haven't been able to review it. And they were concerned about some of the traffic considerations for that particular area. So just so that's on the record, it had to do with the rooms of the limited lodging and the parking and any reduction that they have for parking and the traffic concurrency.
Do we have those comments in writing or yet, or?
We don't yet because I was waiting on the last submittal, and I anticipate getting those from Debbie today. So anything that we put together, of course, we'll put that and give it to the planner in writing. Tim is the planner though, right? It's not Bob. Bob's just standing in.
Yes, Tim is the assigned reviewer for this particular project.
Okay. So we would send it to him, send it to you, and send it to him.
Yes.
Okay. That's it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. One item of note, this application was originally submitted prior to the change in regulations, but we'll take your comments under advisement. Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? Technical comment? Seeing none, do we have any further comments from the applicant?
No, sir.
Do we have a recommended motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a recommendation of conditional approving pending all comments have been addressed and resubmitted and properly approved, and then move it on forward to the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Bob. Do we have a motion at the dais?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item will move forward to the next stage, subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments.
Mr. Chair, that stage won't be the plan. I'm sorry. It will be moved to DRB.
This doesn't go.
No.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Not DRB, the Planning Commission.
Not on this quarter yet.
Thank you, members of the board.
As much as some members of our community would like it to move to the Design Review Board, we don't yet have that authority. Thank you. The next item, item number 4, we have a request to continue from the affected parties. This is the, item number 4 is the Bellamy of 30A event venue, less than minor. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Motion to continue.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to continue this item to the next TRC, which will be the first Wednesday of April. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item is continued to the April TRC. That brings us to item number 5 and item number 6. I think we have a request to continue from the applicant to continue to the April meeting for each of these items. This would be number 5 is Waterfalls by the Bay large-scale amendment, and the Waterfalls by the Bay conceptual PUD. That's the companion project to the land use change. Can we have a motion to move this to the next technical review committee meeting in April?
Motion.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Continue this item to April. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to the April TRC along with item number 6 to the April TRC. That brings us to item number 7, Alice Beach, Phase 3, Block AC, lots 11 and 12, 21 through 23, and 28, plat. Request to approve by final plat. This one has been reviewed by Tim Brown also, and thank you, Bob, for standing in for Tim. If you could introduce it briefly.
Yes, sir. This is a plat development order application submitted by Interlight Engineering Corporation requesting approval to plat lots 11 and 12, 21 through 23, and lot number 28 of Block AC, Alice Beach, PUD on .70 plus or minus acres with future land use of traditional neighborhood development. The fees associated with this project are payment at the time of plat recording, recording fees, 911 fees of $100, addressing fee, flat rate of $100, recording fee of $54, $35 for first page, and $19.50 for each subsequent page. It appears that there are some minor comments that need to be addressed, and I will turn it over to the applicant.
Good morning. I'm David Smith with Interline Engineering, and I have reviewed the staff report, and I agree with Bob. The comments are very minor, so I have no further questions or comments.
Thank you, David.
Okay, thank you.
This is a plat application that, subject to this body, will move forward to the Board of County Commissioners for final action. Do we have a recommended motion, Bob?
I'd like to make a motion to conditionally approve pending satisfaction of the resubmittal, and then move it to the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Bob. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Motion?
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Subject to satisfaction of comments, this item will be scheduled for the Board of County Commissioners for final agency action. That brings us to number 8, the Surf Song Estates right-of-way abandonment.
Are you taking public comment on that?
We'll take a technical public comment, a technical question or comment.
Okay, technical question. This is listed as a conservation easement, originally owned by EBSCO. Does EBSCO stand for Ed Bale's Secret Corrupt Organization? Because it's now, at the bottom, it says it's owned by the Board of County Commissioners of Walton County, and then at the top, it says it's still owned by EBSCO, even though they sold it. So this is a conservation easement, and this is one of the ways that they illegally convert land is by handing it off to the county, and then the county destroys it. So you can't do anything with this either. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. You're welcome to submit those in writing to be included in the public record. Moving on to item number 8, Surf Song Estates right-of-way abandonment. This is a request to approve by resolution. This has also been reviewed by Tim, who's in Washington. Thank you, Bob, for standing in for him. Can you introduce this particular project?
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is a petition for abandonment application submitted by Core Engineering and Consulting, requesting an abandonment of the western 9 feet of the 16.5-foot Surf Song Lane right-of-way on 0.01 acres plus or minus, with a future land use of neighborhood infill. And I believe the applicant is here to address any comments.
Good morning.
Good morning. Ed Stanford with Core Engineering and Consulting. The applicant is a resident and is building a house. It should be noted that, and he wants to, acquire this land to accommodate certain features of his home. But it should be noted that the right-of-way or easement to the north was abandoned last year, a portion of it, and the easement to the east has already been developed and built on. So we're not impending or infringing upon any future thoroughfare or right-of-way in maybe a traditional sense. This is just going to be wasted land at the end of the day. It's a very simple deal. Welcome any questions you might have.
Thank you. As with all right-of-way abandonments that have some public interest, it's the obligation of the applicant to demonstrate why the county should give up any particular rights. The planning department makes no recommendation for approval on this, and as is normal in our experience, the Public Works Department always opposes any abandonment of any public interest in an easement or right-of-way. The staff report indicates that the proper procedure has been followed, and that's what we comment on as a department. We'll entertain a recommendation to move this forward to the next level for consideration.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a recommendation to move this project forward to the Planning Commission.
Quick question. So there's still a little bitty strip there between the next property and,
Yeah, we're only basically trying to get what we need. We're gonna remain, or the 7.5-foot side setback is going to remain along that property boundary on our side. That's why there's 9 foot, because there's a 16.5-foot easement through there.
And answer your question, Ben?
yes, sir, thank you.
Any other questions from the dais? This is not a public hearing, but we will entertain technical questions from members of our audience. Is anyone wishing to make a technical comment or ask a technical question about this particular application? Seeing none, we'll move on. We have a recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Motion.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this motion is approved to move this item forward to the next step in its review. That brings us to item number 9, the Palm Court subdivision, and we have a request from the applicant to continue this item to the April 4 Technical Review Committee meeting to facilitate coordination with the Water Management District and their permitting. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Motion to continue.
Second.
We have a motion to continue and a second to April 4. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Yes, ma'am. That was the motion, the request from the applicant to continue this to the April 4 Technical Review Committee meeting. And that is the motion at the dais. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item is continued to the April 4 Technical Review Committee meeting, 8:30 a.m. in this room. This brings us to item number 10, the Inlet Beach Water System Wastewater Treatment Plant Large-Scale Amendment. This is a request to approve a land use change by ordinance. This item has been reviewed by Bob Barante. This follows the major development review path, and subject to the recommendation from this body would move forward to public hearings at the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners.
Mac, this is Scott Jenkins with Jenkins Engineering. Based on getting the staff report this morning and then discussions with you guys, the applicant has actually requested that we continue this to the next month so that they can address the concerns with changing the future land use to public facilities, and so see if they can address some of the environmental concerns a little better based on discussions with staff.
Yes, sir. We'll entertain that motion. I think there may be a number of people here that took time out of their day to come to speak on this particular item. So while this is not a public hearing, we will entertain technical comments or questions, and we'll consider continuing this item forward.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have anyone from the audience that is interested in making a technical comment or question at this time? Yes, sir. If you could come to the podium, please.
My name is Rich Jaffe. I'm the president of the Historic Inlet Beach Neighborhood Association. As I have seen frequently with hearings in front of you all, you have periodically required that people meet with the community to present projects before they move forward out of this body. My question, especially since this has been or it looks like it's going to be postponed yet again, is if there should be such a meeting with the surrounding communities for a project like this. I was asked by the Inlet Beach Water System Board to participate in a committee that will be trying to gather and disseminate some information within Inlet Beach. However, as I have told them, and I think there is no doubt, this project will have an impact on water sound. I suspect there will be some dramatic response from St. Joe. It could have an impact on Rosemary, depending on prevailing winds. And I would suggest that even prior to it getting to the county position, that these guys need to pitch their plan to develop a sewer system, sewage treatment plant, to the surrounding neighborhoods. I can guess what the reaction is going to be, but in the interest of trying to do what's best for all of those neighborhoods, not just Inlet Beach, I would suggest to you that they need to talk to a whole lot of people and try and pitch this if they expect any kind of support whatsoever from the surrounding neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Do we have any other? Yes, sir, if you could come to the podium.
Chris Foreman, Inlet Beach, 58 East Rattlesnake Trail. I'm lot 20. My neighbor Dave Arnold is the one right in the middle. We got several technical problems. Lake Powell's an outstanding Florida water, which means you're not allowed to load more nutrients into it. Afraid that a sewage treatment plant will travel underground and perk up into the lake. 2, we've got potable water wells out there. We have no access to water from the county. We have no access to Inlet Beach Water System. We're not in their franchise. So we've already been told we may have to move our wells. Where are we going to move them? And are we going to trust them? 3, county's going to start testing our water to make sure it's safe, because I can't afford it. I've been on that water for 25 years. 4, access issues. The only access to this property right now is down the power lines. Do y'all know where the power lines are on that map? Just north of there is our 60-foot easement, undeveloped. I have a handshake agreement with Walton County, DEP, Army Corps of Engineers, and St. Joe and Gulf Power to use that easement. I maintain it. How are they going to get to the property? And 4th would be regional. Why are they not taking Inlet Beach's sewerage anymore? I know it's an issue between them, but it's BS. Okay, this thing does not belong there. It belongs down there at regional. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else wishing to make a technical comment or ask a technical question? Yes, ma'am.
Debbie Hurd. I had written a letter to Bob. Would you mind if I read that?
You may read that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because it'll cover everything without me. The coastal dune lakes in Walton County, as many know, are only located in a few places in the world. South Walton is the only place in the world that they outfall into another body of water, the Gulf of Mexico. The opening and closing of the outfalls is an unexplained phenomenon that amazes each and every time as if it were the first. The tea-colored water spreads into the emerald green waters, making their own work of art. The proposed WWTP FLU change is of great concern to me, not only as chairman of the Coastal Dune Lake Advisory Board, but also as a private citizen and local business owner. Please know I can't speak as a CD lab because this has not come before our agenda, so they don't know. I have not discussed this with them, and all the sunshine laws have been adhered to. I have been an appointed member of the CD lab for several years and chairman for 3 years. And so my opinions are my own opinions. The 3 parcels lie within the Coastal Dune Lake Protection Zone and border the Osprey Creek section of Lake Powell. The combined almost 20 acres have a diverse ecosystem that cannot fully be understood from the 20% environmental study that was provided in this application. A 90% study would need to be presented to obtain the FWC permit needed for this project. From the current study, we can see there are 3 types of wetland communities located on the property. The possibility of threatened or endangered species are also noted. Historical research collected by volunteers of the Coastal Dune Lake Advisory Board have indicated the eastern indigo snake on large tracts north of Osprey Creek and bald eagle nests have been observed in the Lake Powell area for many years. The gopher turtle has also been known to be in this area and is mentioned constantly in constant comment regarding these large tracts. This project would have a huge impact on these wetlands and these noted and many other species documented in the site area. In this step of the process, a land use change, we have no plans for this wastewater treatment plant to view. What's intended for this site. We have no indication where the NPDES outfall will be located. This is a major concern. This NPDES outfall during heavy rain events will be allowed to do emergency discharges into the body of water that outfall discharges into. The process of flocking, adding chemicals to remove suspended solids, produces water discharge with a chemically induced pH level, and different temperature is released into the NPDES outfall. At times of catastrophic events, as equipment failure and or weather event, emergency discharge permits could be allowed under DEP emergency discharge regulations. Under normal conditions, this WWTP would change the ecosystem of the lake to an extent we cannot predict due to the rare nature of the coastal dune lake and watershed ecosystems, and most likely in a catastrophic event have adverse effects on the lake and surrounding watershed that would be irreversible. If there were to be such an event, this natural or mechanical opening of the Dune Lake outfall would pour any pollutants into the Gulf as well. Here in Walton County, we currently have a few lakes with trigger points recognized by the DEP that allow for mechanical opening of the outfalls. I put an example in there we recently had of Eastern Lake. We were going to mechanically open it like at 7 in the morning, but it opened during the night on its own. Bay County also holds such permits. The outfall for Lake Powell is in Bay County, and they are the ones that then open that outfall. So I'm skipping those paragraphs to kind of condense them. So Bay County holds these permits and the outfall. And the outfall itself and all of the property that is in the state park area is outstanding Florida waters. This portion that they are proposing to build on is not outstanding Florida waters, but that the rest of the lake is. So my point being is the environmental study provided states the subject property is not located within aquatic reserve or outstanding Florida waters. This may be true to a point, but when you look at the lake as a whole, this is not entirely true. There are numerous wetlands and protected areas along Lake Powell that could be in danger if this plant were to be built. We do not allow septic tanks within the Coastal Dune Lake Protection Zone. Why would we even entertain the idea of a wastewater treatment plant within the zone or anywhere near any of our dune lakes, their tributaries or watershed? There are no variances allowed except for hardship, and this project does not meet those requirements. What were to happen if this application moves to be passed and the FLU change is granted? Would the adjoining parcels be forced to follow suit? What if the intended project falls through? Well, then the horse is out of the barn and anyone can move on with a new project that meets the requirements of this land use. This is a terrible precedent set and risk to take with no plans to review. No assurances in place regarding development and operation of the intended facility, and lack of required studies for permitting of the facility needed for multiple state and federal regulatory agencies. Our area has unique weather systems with Gulf breezes as well as seasonal bay effect weather patterns and southerly winds. Any change in wind condition could carry orders from the WWTP long distances. Surrounding businesses, outdoor recreation, entertainment, resort and tourist attractions such as South Walton beaches could be greatly affected long term were this facility be completed with its proximity to the Gulf of 0.7 miles. Our local economy relies on tourism and exclusive real estate market of homes ranging from $400,000 to $15 million in value, with the market increasing steadily. Many business owners and homeowners have made large, long-term investments and commitments to this community. As a local business owner and a licensed realtor, it is my opinion that this project would be detrimental to the market area and could have a negative effect on value, and the marketability of the surrounding neighborhood. Approval of the flue change would be a disservice to the community and the citizens of Walton County. The coastal loon lakes are a rare and precious natural resource that we have the responsibility to protect and preserve for future generations. We as a community should take every effort to be good stewards of these resources. Walton County has a responsibility to citizens and taxpayers who have vested interests, whether it be business, home, or investment property. Walton County also has a responsibility to the millions of tourists who flock to our area for these natural resources. Coastal dune lakes, sugar sand beaches along emerald waters, among a few that are heavily advertised by our TDC. We as a community must maintain the standard we all have set for Walton County. And it's my hope that you will ask for denial of this application of the flue change. I believe there are alternative sites available and alternative methods of treating this wastewater that need to be explored further. And in order for them to receive an FWC permit, they will have to submit 4 alternate locations and the analysis of those locations, because this one is not suitable. And a lot of this property is also in the floodplain, a good portion, except for one little section in the middle that's a little bit higher. So, you know, I could go on and on about the things that could happen, but if Lake Powell was contaminated, it would be a catastrophic event for this area. So I thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Do we have anyone else?
Mr. Chair, just 2 clarifications. It was sent to this project was sent to Bay County because of the sensitive nature of Lake Powell, and no comments have been received. And also the letter that Ms. Hurd was talking about is in Appendix I.
Thank you, Bob.
Can you repeat that, please? The second part.
The letter that was just read is in the exhibits in I.
It's made a part of the Technical Review Committee staff report, just for clarification. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Carrie Halstead. I am a homeowner in Watersound Origins. I don't know if this is a technical comment or not. I just wanted to speak up on behalf of the homeowners because our homeowners association isn't here. As a local business owner and a homeowner, our home is less than 400 feet away from the edge of one of the proposed lots. We are highly concerned with not only the pollution and odor in the air, but also to the water that stands directly across the street from us. Many of the homeowners in this Watersound Origins community paid premiums for the lots, including my husband and I, to face the water and the trees in the easement. We're very concerned what it's going to do to the quality of our property. We spent our savings to move here from Kentucky less than 2 years ago and to enjoy our life. And I know we're not the only ones, but you know, this has us highly concerned for the value of our property and our life and the kids in the neighborhood. So I would second the motion earlier before moving any further with this, that the homeowners that are impacted in all of the areas are given a chance to speak. If it were not for a few concerned citizens that shared the information with us, we would not have known about this meeting or even the proposed plans. This would have moved forward without us knowing because we're not Inlet Beach homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have anyone else from the audience that wishes to make a technical comment or ask a technical question? Yes, ma'am. I think the lady in the back was...
Good morning. My name is Emily Ellis. I live at 58 Rattlesnake Trail. Pardon me, I had sinus surgery yesterday, so I'm a little stuffy. My husband and I have been sampling Lake Powell with the Florida Lake Watch program for 23 years now. And we do not sample for fecal coliform or E. coli. And I would just maybe put it in the record that if this is potentially very strongly going to go forward, that maybe the county should start now to get a baseline and maybe start testing for those things, at least on a monthly basis. And then if we do move forward this, we'll have something to go by and see if we have any changes in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is David Stolfire. I'm on 120 Medley Street. And as the woman previous to the last speaker, I also abut the lake on Medley Street. I'm about 600 feet away from the proposed building of this treatment plant. I also took my savings, moved my family to this neighborhood in particular, and did pay a premium for the neighborhood and for that lot for the views of the lake and for the easement of the property that is in question. For the benefit, I'd also like to ask, if it's a technical question, from the odor standpoint, is that a concern, or is that a concern of the board for this proposed construction?
That would be a concern of compatibility for us to consider, yes, sir.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. I'm mighty short, so let's do this. Thank you for letting me speak. I live at Watersound Origins. I also sell real estate at Watersound Origins for the last 4 years. Technically, Watersound Origins is 1,400 acres. We'll have over 1,300 homes that will be there when it's all finished. It is a St. Joe development. I worked for St. Joe originally. Now I do not work for them, but I sell there with Berkshire Hathaway. So, very concerned, and just so you know, I lost one sale last week because of this, and that is a fact. He said it. He said, I'll not be back until this is settled. So it will impact us in a lot of ways. And I'm very concerned about Lake Powell, and I totally agree with the first gentleman that stood up and talked, and I say amen. We should have some discussion. Very, very concerned about, I've seen eagles, they're there. The water is so important to this whole area as part of the ecosystem. And so I don't speak for anybody but myself and my husband, but I know that there are many owners who are heartbroken over spending their savings, including me, to be able to live in a community that is environmentally wonderful. The air is so great to breathe, and the breeze coming off the Gulf, we just do not wish to have an odor in that. So thank you so much for letting me speak, and I just strongly, strongly disagree with this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have anyone else that wishes to make a technical comment or ask a technical question? Seeing none, put this in perspective, I want to assure certainly the members of our public and those that may be observing these proceedings through the internet, this body is sincerely committed to protecting our environment, protecting our coastal dune lakes. And if you've had a chance to review the staff report, certainly the planning department and the staff that's reviewed this particular development, the members of the technical review committee, we have quite a number of concerns regarding compatibility of the depth of the environmental assessment, because as some of our technical commenters have pointed out, we only have one chance to get this right. And in the event of some catastrophe, it could have a tremendous impact on a coastal dune lake and the outstanding Florida water portion of that dune lake. These dune lakes are critical to marketing of our many resort communities and the economic health of Walton County. We've certainly seen what happens Sorry, but this just means a lot to me.
Take 5, Mac.
We don't take this stuff lightly. Certainly, the inlet beach water system has a need to have a wastewater treatment. And at the present time, personally, I'm not convinced that the inlet beach water system needs to build a new wastewater treatment plant because they don't have one right now. Another concern is this wastewater treatment plant is located outside of the inlet beach franchise area from Walton County, and I would like for that particular franchise agreement component to be responded to by the applicant as to their ability to locate outside of their franchise area. At present, the planning department is not recommending approval of this proposed large-scale amendment for a number of reasons, but in deference to another utility provider that does have a franchise from Walton County, we're going to entertain the consideration of a motion to continue this particular item to give the applicant additional time to address the comments that are in the staff report, possibly address the concerns of the neighborhood through a community meeting. But we want this proceeding to be as transparent as possible, and we want everybody that has an interest or a willingness to comment to have the opportunity to participate. Because this is important. And at the present time, I think the applicant would like to request to continue this item. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
We'll entertain a motion to continue to the April 4 Technical Review Committee meeting.
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
This item is continued to the next meeting, subject to a resubmittal from the applicant. Thank you. This brings us to item number 11, the Bay Grove Park. And we'll take just a moment for members of our audience to clear the meeting. At the present time, we'll move forward with the Bay Grove Park. This is a request to approve by ordinance, a small-scale amendment request that's been reviewed by Kelly Frommeyer, and we'll ask Kelly to introduce this project.
Good morning. This is a small-scale amendment application submitted by Greg Graham, Walton County Public Works, on behalf of the Walton County Board of County Commissioners, requesting approval to amend the future land use category from rural village to public facilities on plus or minus 7.46 acres. The project is located at the southwest of the intersection of Bay Grove Road South and U.S. Highway 331, adjacent to U.S. Highway 331 and north of the Choctawhatchee Bay. The current land use for rural park is compatible. The county does want to acquire, has acquired the property to construct a public park, which is a compatible use under the current land use category. However, the public facilities category is more appropriate because it is specifically designated for county-owned and operated property. So there is no compatibility issues with that land use change. And that would make it consistent with several of the other county-owned and operated parks.
This is a Walton County project, this proposed small-scale amendment. While this is not a public hearing, we will entertain any technical questions from members of our audience or comments. Yes, ma'am.
Coy Bowman, what do they plan on doing with this land?
It's going to be a public park.
Just a park, not a boat launch?
There will be boat launching facilities there. They've existed there historically, and the county is going to be improving those.
So there are currently boats being launched from this area?
I don't know that there probably are. I think historically there have been, but the boat launch that's presently there is not in good condition. There's also a proposal to provide a canoe and kayak launch also.
Okay, I'm just wondering how the boat launch is going to affect the surrounding residential neighborhood. The people that live around there being disturbed by boats launching at dawn?
Yes, ma'am, and that will be considered during the public hearing at the Planning Commission and at the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay, also, I'm wondering, has anybody spoken to the the Cherokee Nation about this land? Because everything south of 20 belongs to the Cherokee Nation. Give them a call. BIA, Washington, D.C. Thank you.
Thank you. Based on the property appraiser records, there is no indication of any ownership in that particular direction. And at the Planning Commission, notices will be provided to anyone owning property of record with the property appraiser's office located within 300 feet of this particular site. There will be written notices sent for the Planning Commission hearing and the Board of County Commissioners hearing. Do we have any other technical comments? Seeing none, do we have a recommended motion?
Yes, I recommend to conditionally approve and move forward to the Planning Commission.
So moved.
We have a motion at the dais. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item will move ahead conditionally to the Planning Commission. This brings us to item number 12, the Prominence Phase 3 South Plat. Request to approve by final plat. This has been reviewed by Renee Bradley, and I'll ask her to introduce this proposal.
This is a plat application requesting approval of an 83-lot subdivision plat within the Prominence DRI PUD. This is the last phase of Prominence. This project's located on 14.03 acres within the future land use of traditional neighborhood. The applicant is still required to pay proportional fair share, recreational fees, 911 addressing fees, as well as recording. Staff has very minor comments as far as the plat goes. We would need a signed Mylar and additionally either some type of bond, letter of credit, or a completion of the project prior to moving it forward to the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Renee. This is not a public hearing. However, we will entertain any technical comments or questions from members of our audience at this time.
Coy Bowman. This is a D.R. Horton property. They are a secret subsidiary of St. Joe and the Monster that is destroying our land. They overbuild. They use fake deeds. So I'm just going to say, no, you can't do this. Also, this looks like it's right and just in the edge of my land. So, no, you can't do anything with this. Thank you.
Thank you. You're willing to submit your comments in writing, and we'll consider them as part of the record.
I submitted it in writing to the president. Thank you very much.
Thank you. He doesn't forward anything to us, so if you want Walton County to consider it, please submit it to us.
Because what, Walton County doesn't recognize the president of the United States?
Do we have a recommended motion?
The applicant have anything,
I
any
have
questions?
nothing further. I'm David Smith with Interlight. Nothing further to add.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
I would recommend, sir, that we move this forward to the Board of County Commissioners once all comments have been satisfied, fees are paid, and Mylar signed.
Thank you, Renee. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Motion.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item will move forward subject to satisfaction of comments.
Thank you.
Matt, this will go to the DCC, not planning.
Yes, ma'am. Plats do not go to the Planning Commission. The projects for major developments have already gone to the Planning Commission. This moves us to item number 13, the Seclusion Code plat, request to approve a final plat. This has also been reviewed by Renee Bradley, and I'll ask her to introduce this project.
This is a plat application submitted by Interlight Engineering Corporation on behalf of Centennial Properties, requesting approval of plat of residential single-family 4-lot subdivision on 6.3 plus or minus acres with a future land use of low-density residential. Again, this project has very minor comments. There is recreational fees and 911 addressing fees that are required. And we would need resubmittal, approval of the Mylar with the Mylar signatures to move forward.
Thank you, Renee. Comments from the applicant?
I'm David Smith with Interlight Engineering for the record, and I have reviewed the staff report, and I have no further comment.
Thank you, David. Recommended motion?
Staff's recommended motion will be moved forward to the Board of County Commissioners once all comments, fees, and the Mylar has been signed.
Thank you. This is not a public hearing, but at this time we'll entertain any technical questions or comments from any member of the public.
Boy Bowman, if you look at the original deed listed on the website, the parcel number does not match. So this is an illegitimate deedery. It's listed as 70, not 72, so it's illegitimate. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome to submit your comments in writing. We do have a title search and policy on this particular application. It's parcel. Motion at the dais?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item will move forward to the Board of County Commissioners, subject to satisfaction of any outstanding comments.
Thank you.
This brings us to item number 14, the Pleasant Ridge General Store, a request to approve by minor development order. This item has been reviewed by Renee Bradley, and I'll ask her to introduce the project.
Matt, can I excuse myself on this project?
Sure.
This is a minor development order application submitted by Dewberry on behalf of Freeport Industries requesting approval to construct a 4,500 square foot general store with gas pumps on 3.6 acres and a future land use of general agriculture. The project is located at 2737 Bob Sykes Road. Staff has very minor comments on this project. Standard NPDS comments from environmental just as a condition prior to construction. This is a minor development order, therefore, this is our only hearing for this project.
Thank you, Renee. Let the record show that TRC member Bill Menader has recused himself on this particular item. Do we have comments from the applicant?
Alyssa Pettis with Dewberry. These comments are straightforward. I don't think we'll have any issues addressing them.
Thank you. Since this will be, the recommendation of this board will constitute final agency action, we will open a public hearing on this particular item. Are there any members of the public that wish to make any comment on this particular application? Yes, ma'am.
Coy Bowman, if you look at these deeds, they've reversed the order. The very first one is listed as a 1976 sale, and if you click on it, it actually has the date of 1976 on it. But if you click on the next one up that says 1978, what you find is a form from 1972. The reason they've done this is to hide the information that's in it, because this piece of paper actually refers to a piece of land that's in 1 south, not 2 north. So you see, once again, you have an illegitimate chain of deeds. So you can't do anything with this because there is no legal evidence that this property is correct. So you can just forget it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. You're welcome to submit those comments in writing to make them part of the record. Do we have anyone else that wishes to make a comment during this portion of this item during the public hearing? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and we'll entertain a motion.
The recommended motion, sir, be move this forward to the development order once all comments and fees have been paid.
And we have a recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion's carried. This item is, we'll move forward to development order subject to satisfaction of those comments and payment of fees. There being no further business before us, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Stand adjourned.